These are 12 of the weirdest plant hacks on the internet that actually work to save you time, money and effort, as well as help you become the plant hero in your house all your plants have been waiting for. And today's video is sponsored by Incogni, and more on that in a little bit. Let's start off with an absolute gem. I actually saw this on Hugh Richards' gardening channel, so shout out to him, and I just had to bring it to this channel because it's something I'm definitely going to use from now on. What was it Picasso said? Good artists borrow, great artists steal. If you've been watching Sheffield Made Plants for a little while, then you'll have seen me use these little IKEA kiddies cups for scooping up my soil when repotting a plant. Yeah, not ideal. Not much soil can be scooped up in these little things. Takes me all day. Well, there is a better way, and it's pretty thrifty. We've all got these milk cartons in the fridge, haven't we? What do we do when we've finished up all the milk? Lob them in the recycling, of course. But save your next one and turn it into a soil scooper. It's got a ready-made handle too. Perfect. Here's what you do. Grab a marker and make a rough guide of where you are going to cut. We're going to cut the bottom off, but we want to cut it off at an angle like this so that we're in soil scooping heaven. Use some scissors or a scalpel to carefully make the cut. And please don't cut your hand off in the process, just take your time. Doesn't need to be perfect, mine certainly isn't, but it's a great homemade tool for scooping up big amounts of soil. You're welcome. I owe this next hack to a subscriber of this channel who told me about it in the comments to a recent video. Subscribe to the channel if you're not, by the way. What is the single worst thing in the whole wide world? Fungus gnats, of course. Wait, what? What do you mean that's not what you were thinking? Anyway, fungus gnats are the devil's workmen, my plant friend, and an absolute nemesis of mine, let me tell you. Thankfully, I finally got a handle on my problem after I launched an army of wiggly worms into the soil of all my plants, but the thing that keeps me up at night is introducing new plants or soil to my home. It's easy for a cheeky gnat to be lying dormant in a bag of soil, ready to wake up and make hay in all your plants. You may well be thinking you've got the perfect solution to this. Put the soil in a tray and whack it in the oven or microwave to kill off any nasties, right? Well, I might have a simpler way. Instead of going through the rigmarole of putting soil in a tray and into your oven, getting it out 20 minutes later, leaving it to cool, and then putting it back into the bag with all the mess that creates, why not try sticking the original bag in the freezer? Leave it in there overnight so the middle gets whacked by the cold, and any fungus gnats and the eggs lying around should die off. It might not be as brutal as killing them with the heat, but it should help kill off any stragglers left in the soil. Imagine you're going away on a 2-week holiday to the sandy beaches of the Bahamas, but you've also got a few calophyas in your collection that don't like to have their soil dry out. You're worried there might be a heat wave while you're gone and you'll come back to a calophaya graveyard. What do? No, don't take them with you, silly. That's a step too far. You simply make a DIY self-watering system. It doesn't need to be anything particularly fancy, just something to get you out of a jam and tide your fussy buddies over until you're back. This method is super simple. While I'm showing you, let's chat about today's video sponsor, Incogni. Have you ever signed up to a loyalty card at your local garden centre or a big box store and started receiving spam emails or random phone calls? This has happened to me lots of times. You should see my spam folder for my email account. Well, my planty friend, it's time to take control of your personal information and protect your privacy. Imagine your personal data as a precious houseplant thriving in the digital world. The problem is there are thousands of shifty data brokers out there ready to sell your information to the highest bidder without you even knowing about it. This is where today's video sponsor Incogni comes in. Incogni is like having a team of plant-loving superheroes fighting on your behalf. They reach out to those data brokers and request that they delete any personal information they have about you. And just like a self-watering pot, Incogni does all the messy work for you automatically. Imagine this, you sign up for a free newsletter and suddenly spam starts flooding your inbox like weeds taking over your garden. With Incogni, those weeds don't stand a chance. It's like having your own personal gardener who keeps your garden pristine, protecting you from invasive intrusions. Now, the first 100 people to use Sheffield Made Plants at the link below will get a very juicy 60% off of Incogni. So don't mess around and head over to the link down below to claim your discount. Just like your houseplants, your personal data deserves to thrive in a safe and secure environment. What's the thing you find most annoying about houseplants? Let me know in the comments. For me, it's fungus gnats, Kel Sapri. A close second is plants looking untidy, particularly plants that constantly want to do yoga. A common solution to this is to grab a bamboo stick from the garden, plonk it into the soil and tie the stems to it. Looks a bit ugly though, doesn't it? But there is something you can do to smarten this up just a little bit. Turn it into a DIY trellis system. All you need is 3 bamboo sticks and some string. Stick each of them into the soil in a kind of triangle formation. You want to go fairly deep into the soil so that they are nicely supported by the soil. You then simply grab your string and tie the sticks together at the top. It creates a kind of obelisk style trellis that you can tie your plant stems onto. Look, I've got it in action on my bedroom monstera, and not only does it look better than having single sticks poking out, it's also much more robust. It's supporting the heavy monstera stems no problem. Give it a whirl. Luckily for me, I don't have to particularly worry about a lack of water here in good old Sheffield. Look, we've got plenty to go around in these parts. I try to put a positive spin on it, you see. I do know though that there are lots of us who are actually having summers with nice weather and that conserving water is important. So trudging over to your sink to water your plant and letting it drain away fills you with teenage angst. A simple solution to this problem is to get yourself a nice large tray like this, fill it with water and add your plants to soak up all the water they need from the bottom for 20 minutes or so. Not only does it save water, it's also great for your plants. Water wicks up through the soil, so there's a nice even distribution of water with no dry patches, encourages roots to grow downwards away from the crown of the plant in search of water, and it keeps the top inch of soil relatively dry so that those pesky gits don't come in and procreate in the soil. You don't have to use a tray like this of course, a sink or even a bathtub will do a job. I just like these trays because they're nice and flexible and wide enough to fit a bunch of plants. And I got this from my local nursery and I'm sure you'll be able to find one near you. Plant pots can be pretty darn expensive, can't they? Can I get an amen on that? You're talking the best part of £10 for a set of 4 basic pots, and then you got to fork out extra for the saucers. A thrifty alternative, and something I've mentioned before in another hacks video, is to recycle used food containers. Yogurt pots are perfect for example. But Mr. Sheffield, what about drainage? You bang on about drainage holes being the holy grail of the plant world, and yet these yogurt pots clearly don't have holes. Yes, this is a conundrum, and my solution before was to haphazardly poke holes in the bottom with a sharp scalpel. Not ideal. I'm lucky I've still got my fingers. Well, turns out there was an easy solution staring me in the face all this time. You see, what you really want is a soldering iron to punch holes through the bottom, but seriously, who has that? A thrifty solution is to grab a screwdriver and heat the end of it with a candle or something. Wait for it to get nice and hot and it should pierce through the plastic like a knife pierces through butter. Well, maybe not butter, but it should eventually get through anyway. You've just made yourself a free plastic pot ready-made with drainage holes. Perfect! Now you could even paint them to make them look less ugly. Have you ever brought home a live basil plant from the store and watched it inexplicably die within only a couple of weeks? Just what on earth is going on? Basically, my plant friend, there are too many plants crammed into the same little pot and everything gives up and dies. There are 2 things you can do to get much more bang for your buck. The first is to simply divide the basil into multiple plants and pot each of them on individually. Just 1 plant per pot. They should each grow on to be their own big healthy basil plant with lots of tasty leaves. Enough to make lots of homemade green pesto. The second thing you can do is keep an endless supply of water propagations on your windowsill. Basil is dead easy to propagate. Just cut underneath a leaf node, pop it in a glass of water and roots will appear in a couple of weeks. It's that simple. From there, new stems and leaves will grow and you can repeat the process. And you can keep doing this over and over again so that you have an endless supply of basil. Cleaning the dust off hairy succulents can be a real pain in the bum. Cleaning plants like Califea and Monstera is dead simple. Grab a damp cloth and wipe the leaves, or even take them outside to give them a hose down Shawshank Redemption style. Succulents are a different beast altogether though. You're not supposed to touch succulents that have farina on the leaves with your fingers because that stuff is precious to the plant. I said stop it. Rub it off and the leaf is a sitting duck. The problem is, these fellas also seem to be a magnet for dust and dirt. What on earth do you do then? You get yourself every camera operator's #1 tool, the humble dust blower. Not just good for your camera lens, but anything else that needs blowing. These things are great for getting into the nooks and crannies and blowing dust and dirt away so your plant looks as good as new. If there's bits and pieces that really won't budge, then the next step is to use a makeup brush to gently brush it off. I've got this rather nice ripple jade here. It's one of my favourites actually. The problem is I leave it a little too long in between watering. I guess I'm not the doting plant parent I claim to be after all. I mean, it's fine, don't get me wrong, the leaves aren't wilting or anything, but it just means the soil often goes hydrophobic. If you're not familiar with the term hydrophobic, it just means the soil becomes so dry that it actually repels water. Yes, soil can do that. Look it up if you don't believe me. It basically means it can be very tricky to hydrate it again. Pouring water over the top a couple of times really won't cut it. Water will run through easily, there will still be dry patches. So what's the answer then? To drown that sucker. Yes, pull its trousers down and stick the whole root ball in a bucket or sink of water. You'll see it do lots of little farts in the water as the air is displaced, and this is when you know it's working. Leave it to sit there for a good 20 minutes or so until everything is fully drenched. And don't worry about overwatering. This won't cause it. Doing it every day will. Frequency, my plant friend, and not volume. Have you ever been a little heavy-handed with the watering can and poured too much water into the plant's soil only to helplessly watch it overspill the saucer and go all over your carpet? Yes, I've suffered this many times and I've now got the nifty solution that saved my bacon countless times. To find out what it is, check out the video on the screen now. It's packed full of plenty more ingenious plant hacks you won't want to miss out on. And remember to check out my link to Incogni in the description and also subscribe to this very channel.